Have you ever stopped for a moment and wondered, how does your brain actually work? Right now, as you're watching this video, your brain is decoding my words, processing the sounds, attaching meaning to them, and at the same time controlling your heartbeat, your breathing, and even your emotions. The human brain is often called the most complex structure in the known universe. It weighs only about 1.3 kilograms, yet inside it are around 86 billion neurons, tiny nerve cells that form trillions of connections. Together, they create your thoughts, your memories, your feelings, and your sense of self. In this video, we're going to take a deep journey into your brain, how it's built, how it controls your body, how it shapes your emotions, and even how it changes throughout your life. By the end, you'll see your brain not just as an organ, but as the true center of your human experience. At its core, the brain is an information processing system. But unlike a computer, it's alive, constantly rewiring itself, adapting to new experiences. The fundamental unit of the brain is the neuron. Each neuron communicates with others through tiny connections called synapses. An electrical signal runs down the neuron, releases chemicals known as neurotransmitters, and those chemicals jump across the synapse to trigger another neuron. This happens millions of times every second, and while a single neuron is simple, together they form intricate networks that give rise to everything you think and feel. Imagine it like this. One neuron firing is like a single note on a piano, but billions of neurons firing together, that's a full symphony, and that's your brain at work. The brain also uses an incredible amount of energy. Even though it's only about 2% of your body weight, it consumes around 20% of your body's energy. That's why after intense thinking, you can feel mentally tired, just as your muscles feel tired after exercise.
If the frontal lobe is the CEO of your brain, then the limbic system is the emotional core. It's buried deep inside, and it plays a powerful role in shaping who you are. At the heart of the limbic system is the amygdala, a tiny, almond-shaped structure that acts like your emotional alarm system. When you feel fear, anger, or excitement, the amygdala is firing. If you suddenly hear a loud noise behind you, it's the amygdala that jolts you into alertness before you even know what's happening. Next to it is the hippocampus, named after its seahorse-like shape. This structure is essential for turning short-term experiences into long-term memories. Imagine you're at a birthday party. You see the cake, hear people singing, and smell the candles burning. The hippocampus takes all these sensory details and stores them as a memory you can recall years later. Without the hippocampus, you would live only in the present, unable to form new memories. Here's something fascinating. Emotions and memory are tightly linked. That's why you often remember emotional events so vividly, like your first kiss or the moment you received life-changing news. The amygdala tags these moments as important, making them easier to recall. In contrast, neutral events often fade quickly from memory. But there's a flip side. Stress and trauma can overwhelm the system. High levels of stress hormones, like cortisol, can damage the hippocampus, making it harder to form memories or concentrate. This is one reason why people with chronic anxiety or PTSD often struggle with memory issues. On the positive side, happiness and love also reshape the brain. When you laugh, when you feel connected, your brain releases chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, the so-called good-feeling neurotransmitters. These chemicals don't just create fleeting emotions, they strengthen neural pathways, reinforcing patterns of joy and social bonding. In other words, your brain doesn't just think, it feels, and those feelings are deeply woven into the way you remember and experience the world.
Now we arrive at one of the greatest mysteries of science, consciousness. What does it mean to be aware? How does the brain create the experience of you? At the most basic level, Consciousness is the brain's ability to integrate vast amounts of information and turn it into a unified experience. Right now, your brain is processing colors, sounds, words, emotions, and memories, all at once. Yet you perceive it as one seamless reality. Scientists still don't fully understand how this happens, but we do know some of the brain areas involved. The frontal cortex is key for self-reflection and planning. The parietal lobes help create your sense of being located in space. And networks across the brain, often called the default mode network, activate when you're daydreaming, reflecting, or imagining the future. This network is part of what makes humans unique. Unlike most animals, we can think abstractly, imagine things that don't exist, and even reflect on our own thoughts. This ability gives rise to art, science, philosophy, and storytelling. But thinking isn't only logical. Creativity often comes from unexpected connections between ideas. Neuroscientists have found that during creative moments, the brain shows unusual patterns of activity. Different regions talk to each other in new ways, forming original thoughts. Language is another miracle of the brain. Specific areas like Broca's area and Wernicke's area allow us to produce and understand speech. It's this capacity for complex communication that has allowed human civilizations to grow, share knowledge, and build cultures. And then, of course, there's the question of free will. Are our decisions truly ours, or are they just the result of neurons firing in predetermined ways? Experiments suggest that our brain often makes decisions milliseconds before we become consciously aware of them. This raises deep philosophical questions about responsibility, choice, and what it means to be human. Consciousness remains one of the most profound mysteries. But even without all the answers, one thing is clear. Your brain is not just a machine processing data. It's the source of awareness itself, the reason you experience life, not just live it.
For a long time, scientists believed the brain was fixed after childhood, that once it developed, it couldn't change. But in the past few decades, research has completely overturned that belief. We now know about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself throughout life. Every new skill you learn, every habit you build, physically changes your brain. If you practice playing the piano, the regions responsible for finger movement and auditory processing grow stronger. If you meditate regularly, areas related to attention and emotion regulation become more active. Even in old age, the brain remains adaptable. Stroke patients can often recover lost abilities because other parts of the brain take over damaged functions. This adaptability is nothing short of extraordinary. Modern neuroscience also explores the relationship between the brain and technology. Brain scans like fMRI allow us to see which regions activate during specific thoughts. Brain-computer interfaces are being developed that let paralyzed people control robotic limbs with their thoughts. Some scientists even dream of uploading memories or connecting human brains directly to machines, blurring the line between biology and technology. But with these advancements come challenges. Diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and depression remind us how fragile the brain can be. Researchers are working tirelessly to find treatments, using everything from gene therapy to artificial intelligence. The hope is not only to extend life, but to preserve the quality of human experience. In short, the brain is not a static organ. It's a living, evolving system, shaped by your choices, your environment, and even your imagination. As we reach the end of our journey, let's step back for a moment. Your brain, 3 pounds of tissue, mostly water and fat, contains more connections than there are stars in the Milky Way. Every thought you've ever had, every memory, every dream lives within this fragile structure. It controls your heartbeat, your breath, your movements. It gives you emotions, imagination, and the power to create. And most mysteriously of all, it gives you a sense of self, the feeling that you are you. We often look to the cosmos for wonder, searching distant galaxies for meaning. But perhaps the greatest mystery is much closer, inside your own head. So next time you pause and reflect, remember, the universe isn't just out there, it's within you, and it's called your brain.